Health anxiety. What is it? What causes it? And what can you do about it? I'm Josh Spurlock, licensed Christian counselor, here to answer your questions about faith and mental health. Let's unpack health anxiety. Well, first of all, health anxiety is where we feel anxious or fearful about some aspect of our health, or we tend to interpret experiences that we're having within our body as signals or indicators that something is wrong with our health. So, what causes this? So, generally, we have anxiety to begin with. Our brain is designed to identify potential threats, either emotionally, relationally, or physically in our world, and to sound the alarm so that our attention can be drawn to that potential threat and we can do something about it. It's not a flaw, it's a feature of the system as God designed it that helps us identify potential threats and take action to address it and do with those. But what can happen with health anxiety is that we are already experiencing anxiety in a way that there's a hypervigilance within our nervous system. So our threat assessment level is on high. And we are looking at every little creak and sound, whether that's in our environment, like when we think we hear something in the house and our senses go on high alert and we're listening closely and we're looking around to see if something's out of place or make sense of that noise that we hear in the kitchen. And we may go and investigate and just find that it's the ice machine dropping ice. And we're like, oh, okay, that's what it was. And we're able to close that loop in our brain as to what that creak was, or what that noise was. And our body is able to hit the parasympathetic brake and just kind of, just the ice machine. And well, when it comes to creaks in our body, that is signals, either an ache or a pain or a weird response in our body, if we're already in a hypervigilant state, things that our body would maybe normally just filter out and not even register consciously, because our body is gurgling and moving fluids and experiencing little minor twinges from strains or from growth or repair all the time. So there's constantly a lot of activity that's happening inside of our body, and our brain just filters most of that out. We never consciously acknowledge it unless it breaks into consciousness because the pain hits a certain threshold that we like, oh, what is that? We got, then it draws our attention to it in a way that allows us to do something about it and to maybe do some stretches, maybe take an ibuprofen. We can do something to kind of address what it is. And sometimes we can identify the cause. Maybe it was our workout we had this morning, or we stubbed our toe, and that's why our toe is still aching. We can close the loop in our brain as to why that happened. But if we're already experiencing a level of anxiety, then our brain can be in this hypervigilant place where it is paying close attention, listening to every creak and cranny, and suddenly we become aware consciously of a lot of the moaning and groaning that our bodies do all the time, but otherwise gets filtered out. When it's not getting filtered out, it creates these open loops in our brain, like that creak in the kitchen, only we're not able to close the loop with certainty. We can't just walk into the kitchen and be like, oh, there's that sound again. It's coming from the ice maker. That we feel it in our body, but we don't know what it is. We can't close the loop on it. And our inability to close the loop on it generates more fear and more angst. And then we get more anxious about it. And then we start Googling to try to figure out what that eek, creak, ache, gargle in our body is, or what it might be. And we find that it could be lots of different things. And some of them are terrible. And so the inability to know for certain what it is then means that it could be something terrible, which then fuels that angst and fear, more hypervigilance in the system, more focus on the potential threat, and more brain energy going to try to close the loop around what it is. And it becomes obsessive. Like, I got to figure this out and in order to have peace. The problem is it's very difficult to prove what it is or what it isn't. And so we can find ourselves in the doctor's office chasing down with different labs and tests, trying to make sense of a moan or groan within our body, only to have the results be inconclusive. They can rule out certain things, and so they may be able to go, well, it's not this, and it's not that, but that doesn't say what it is. And so rarely does that pathway actually lead to closing the loop, because it's very difficult, if not impossible, to say for certain what it is. And our inability to accept uncertainty then fuels the open loops and the anxiety that we have. So what do we do about this? Because it's a really torturous place to be. There's a few answers to that. Some of these are faith-based answers. Like, there's some existential questions that if we are able to answer, then we're able to find peace within those answers. What do I mean by that? I mean that when we, instead of running away from the fear of the worst case scenario, the catastrophization of the symptom or the signal that we're getting, and we actually lean into it and go, what if it is cancer? Well, I might die. Well, what if you do die? Is that so terrible? I mean, everybody dies at some point. It's a pretty normal part of the life process. Then what? Then what happens? And when we can answer that question with hope, when we're able to go, when I die, I know that there's life continues for me. That in Christ, I have a hope in a future beyond this life. And that at some point this body is going to die. Some point this body is going to give out. When exactly that is, I don't have control over. But I can put my hope and trust in a God who does know the number of my days and does have a plan in the future for me. And I can cast those fears and those burdens of the unknown on him and entrust those with him. It gives me the ability to no longer have to fear death. Right? So there's some existential questions here around that faith can really bring peace to us. That we have a God who knows us and cares about us and knows the number of days that we have on this earth and in this particular version of the body. So we get a new body in the new heavens and new earth. There's a resurrection of the dead, that this is a hope that we have. And that can bring peace, that our connection brings peace. We can also find regulation in allowing others to bear the fears and the burdens with us. That even though other people can't close the loop for us in answering the question about what the gurgle or groan or moan that our body is making out, what that means with certainty, what it can do is their presence and their connection with us enables our bodies to release oxytocin from the relational connection that we have with others. And oxytocin is an inhibitor of the fear circuitry within our brain, that it actually soothes and regulates our anxiety, soothes and regulates our fear when we're able to connect with others. And so allowing others to bear the burdens with us, allowing them to hold the scary nature of uncertainty in life, and putting our hope in God and then connecting with Him around it actually soothes our nervous system and helps relieve our fear, even though it doesn't close the loop around what this ache or pain in our body means. And ultimately, what we're looking for is not to have all the answers, not to have certainty about all things, but to be able to experience peace and to be able to experience joy and to have a hope for the future. Like, these are the things that true happiness consists of. And they're found in Christ, and they're found in connection with His body. And as we mature in our ability to lean into those things spiritually in connection with others, we can truly experience peace even in the midst of uncertainty. Thanks for hanging out with me, watching this video. If you've got questions, leave them in the comments. We'll make some more videos. And until next time, I want you to know that I'm praying for you and that I'm cheering you on as you mature into true happiness.